All right, just a reminder that inside your notebooks that you have three things. One is a registration form for next year's Leadership Summit. Today only, it's only $40, so if you do register early, please see the people at the back desk. We have the Q&A card. So if you do the question and answers as we go through this, we will collect all the questions and answers cards after the fifth session. Amen? So if you need more cards, you can also see the people in the back. There again, you should have the QR code. As Pastor Ricky said, give us a week to get things together, and then we'll have everything readily available via the URL. So before I get started, I'd like to draw a couple names because we have a table up here with a couple bags and some books and stuff that's been graciously given by Abundant Life. Amen. So I'm gonna have Pastor Nick pick out one name. Sir.
Dottie.
Miss Dottie. Where's Dottie? Her name got drawn for a raffle. Okay. Pastor Dan, I'm going to have you get the other one. Sir?
Amy Lord.
Amy Lord. So you can pick something off the table up over here, either a bag or a book. Congratulations, ladies. All right, so this next session, this next speaker comes to us from he's a mission development leader for the Tacoma Area Youth for Christ. I look at it this way: our youth is our future, huh? And so pleased to introduce this next guest. Mr. Frank, come forward, please. Let's give him a round of applause.
Thank you. A couple of things. One, I didn't trip up the stairs, so that's a plus. And I'll tell you why, because I think about stuff like that. At nighttime, I think, oh, wait a minute, I better wear the right shoes, because if I don't wear the right shoes, then I might just trip. And I'm a mover. So I will be over here, and I will be over there, and I just want you to know that, okay? And I'm also a person who will call out a question because I like participation. And one of the things that I learned in leadership years ago was that keep moving, because the more you move, people move with you. And that way people don't go like this. So no matter how boring you are, they still move with you. So you just keep them moving, keep their eyes moving, and keep people engaged. Okay, so that's me. Again, Frank Jackson. I was telling Pastor Rick that, man, he must have been looking at my notes, because he touched on a couple of things that I'll be talking about. But one of the things I do want to do is to introduce myself probably fully. I'm married. I've been married for 30-something years. And I do this on purpose. I don't keep track of that stuff. I don't need to. I just need to keep track of the anniversaries and the birthdays. Everything else falls into place. Yeah, my wife and I have 7 children. We have 17 grandchildren and 1 great-grand. And so, yeah, from Tacoma. Pretty much born and raised here, born in Madigan, but I grew up on the hilltop of Tacoma and graduated Henry Foss High School in 1978. Little part of a sad part of my life. I grew up with an alcoholic mom and an abusive stepdad. get out of high school in June of 78, turned 18 in July. In August, my mom passed away of an accidental drug and alcohol overdose. So it was at that moment that I started to believe that someone and something had to be better for me in my life, and that's how I can connect it to God. And so when I connected to God, it was when Pastor Rick was talking about it was a personal relationship, or we don't talk about personal relationship. I had to have that personal relationship with God because I had no one else. So my sisters and I have 3 sisters at the time, and we kind of dispersed, and so we were homeless. Now, during my homeless years, as you'll see in the bio, that I didn't understand why I was homeless and why I went through drug addiction and why I was on the streets all the time. And I kept asking God, why? Well, it was for later in life when I worked at the Tacoma Rescue Mission, working with folks in homelessness or experiencing homelessness, working with people who are drug addiction, working with people, all the stuff that I went through. So, all that to say, I'm going to talk to you about availability. Availability versus self-centeredness. And I want you to understand the reason I told you that part of my life story was because I had to be available to God. I had to hear his voice. I had to be willing. And people say, well, Frank, how in the world did you do that going from here? Because I slept on the street. And I tell people this, when you go from sleeping on the curb on 25th and M Street, and I'm using a little cheap jacket that I had as my pillow, on the curb to wherever I am now, and I am nowhere, believe me, but I'm not there, I say, well, it was because you have a willingness to change. And the willingness to change gets you through. You have to have that connection with God. You have to be available to listen to his voice, and you have to be willing to go when he tells you to go. So, okay, just making sure. So I'll give you a definition of availability. When Jesus called his disciples, he used the word akaluto, which means to accompany specifically as a disciple. He taught them not to be hindered by personal distractions and explained the sacrifices that would be made to serve him. If any man will come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me, as Pastor Rick mentioned earlier. And the Greek word for deny is aperneomai, meaning to forget oneself, lose sight of one's own interests. Lose sight of who you are because God is calling you to go. So when Pastor Rick was also talking about how the music, and he got to the part where he said, it's not about me. Well, it's never about you. And I say this all the time. And people, man, if you knew some of the people that I knew, they would come in and say, Frank always says, it's not about you. It's about the people around you. Because once you change, the people around you change. I was talking to Pastor John about how sometimes people get comfortable seeing you where you are. When you begin to change, it makes them uncomfortable. We don't know how to take you as a different person. But when you're following God, and if you're going like I did from the curb, and people are used to seeing you on the curb, and all of a sudden you're not, they don't know how to take that. Your own family members. They say, Frank, wait, what? You want to come in the house? Wait a minute. Because again, when you're homeless, you do things that homelessness dictates you do. You get in trouble. You do all the things that you have to survive. And so you burn some bridges. You burn some family bridges, and you have to mend those bridges, and that's the hard part, John, that I was talking about, is that sometimes it's hard to mend those bridges because family members, first of all, they don't trust you, But you have to be available to them. You have to say to them, I am here. I don't want to go anywhere. I just want to be in your life again. How can I do that in the way that you want me to do it? Because God is leading the way, but I just want you to be comfortable with me. How can I do that? I can't come and say, here I am. Take it. Here I am. I'm better. That doesn't work. Now, again, I'm not saying any of this stuff doesn't work because I haven't tried it. Because I tried that. You should just be happy I'm better. Well, that didn't work. So, availability begins. Availability is, let me go back. Simplifying our needs so that we are ready and able to serve those whom God brings to us. Simplify our daily needs. Because again, we do so much. Because we feel that if we do the busy stuff, no one will notice that we're not doing the real stuff. But so we simplify those things. We take that, make it so simple that if a person comes before you and has a need, that you are able to fulfill that need. Not only fulfill that need, but to the fullest of the extent. Because have you ever talked to a person and they ask, hey, you got $1? They don't need the dollar, right? That's what they want. And I always say, actually, I don't carry any cash, but are you hungry? The need, the underneath. And they said, man, I could use some food. Well, then let's go buy some food. I would rather go in the store with you to buy you some food, because what that also tells me is that now I'm becoming available and able to serve those whom God brings to you, to me. I'm able to do that more than $1. I give you $1, first of all, I know this because I was this. You're stacking dollars. $1 really ain't going to do anything. But you feel like you want to ask for the least amount of money when what you want is the most amount of money and to feel the need of eating. Because once a person eats, and this is the thing, I started at the rescue mission as a food service director because I'm a chef also by trade. And so I started a food service director, and one of the things that I tried to impart into my staff at the time was that it's not necessarily just giving people food. It's giving people food that looks good. 85% of it is appearance. If it looks good, smells good, it's going to taste good. So now you're satisfying them. Now they don't have to worry about all the other stuff that they have to deal with during the day because you've given them a meal. Because I'm going to tell you right now, walking around with a hunger that your stomach is inverted is not a good thing. Right? Now, I know. I got to tell you this. My life is stories. I'm going to go off track sometimes, but I'm going to come back. Okay? But that's all about being available for those whom God puts before you. So availability begins by choosing one leader. So again, as I am laying on the curb, sleeping in the bushes, I'm also hearing a voice. Don't know God yet. I know of him, but I don't know him. So I heard this voice, and people, I tell people this, and no, it's not an audible voice. It's not like God saying, Frank. It's not that. It's like, go. In your mind, it's just like, go. I'm laying there. And I'm tired of this life. And I'm saying, God, there has to be something better. There has to be. And I hear this, go. I'll shorten this and just give you a summary of this. So I get up and I walk. And I'm walking. And and I don't know where I'm going, but I'm walking, and I'm hitchhiking, and I end up in Auburn. I know. I know. That's how I feel. Like, what am I in Auburn? How did I get here? But I ended up in Auburn, and I didn't know a soul in Auburn. I had just what I had on. I connected with some other people, went to St. Vincent de Paul's, found out I could get free clothing, I could get free shoes. I did all of that stuff, and that was the beginning of the trajectory that got me out of homelessness. Because then I connected to churches. Then I connected to people. Then I connected to clean and sober housing. Then I connected to this and that. Then I said, you know what? If I had a whiteboard here, I'd be drawing on it. Now I'm moving away from my addiction, my street mentality, all of that stuff, because I have chosen one leader to follow. No distractions from anyone else. One leader. So availability is basic to discipleship. Availability is basic to discipleship. And I want to go back because I forgot just a part. We're going to keep it there. But I also want to touch on some scriptures. Okay? Availability is impossible to achieve if we try to serve more than one leader. Let's remember that. No man can serve two masters. Now, here's the beauty of talking to folks such as yourselves. You already know what I'm saying. So I love that. Or else, you will hold on to the one and despise the other. So we have to clear our minds to say that I need to be available to listen, and I have to be quiet enough, shut out the distractions enough, so that I hear that voice. Because how many of you know that there are many voices that are in your head? And the many voices tell you things. Here's something. I remember as a kid, and I never got this, but they were already programming us. When I was a kid, they always had like these cartoons, and they had like a devil on one shoulder and an angel on the other shoulder. Remember that? Didn't get that then, but as an adult, I started to get that. I said, so they were already saying that you're going to face these voices telling you right from wrong. You're going to either choose this wrong side or you're going to choose this right side. But what they didn't tell you in the cartoons was the consequences of doing those things. Right? So availability is basic to discipleship. When Jesus called his disciples, he called them to a life of availability. The whole concept of discipleship is rooted in being available for training and serving. In the days of Jesus, a person who wanted to acquire knowledge from a master teacher would set aside his personal agenda and literally follow the teacher. Because of this practice, these people were called followers. Because if you had a teacher, you follow that teacher. As the disciples followed Jesus. The very same practice is carried out in our day as students leave our houses, they go to school, they go to colleges, and they follow the teachers. Same concept. Availability is motivated by being a giver rather than a taker. Now, when I was looking at this, reading this, putting this together, I can't help but to, again, share a part of my story. Because again, who you are seeing today is the complete opposite of the person back then. The person who was the taker. I never gave anything. I only took. So to transform a life, I don't know. My love language now is giving. Now, you might say, well, I don't know if that's one of the 5 love languages, Frank. But who cares? I mean, the reality of it is that that's my love language. I can have my own. I can create my own love language. And my love language is to give. Because, and it's not like I got to catch up with all the stuff I took. I'm not trying to play that game. What I'm trying to say is that what matters to me is that I am not looked at as a taker. I am looked at now as a person who gives and not someone who says, Frank, what are you giving me today? It's not that. It's not like I'm giving everything, although I have and will. It's a matter of me saying that what I have, I don't own anything. Everything that I have was given to me by God. I have a friend of mine who's a pastor, and he says, I don't own anything but my argument. I don't own anything but my argument. I don't own the clothes. I don't own anything I have. Short story again. It kind of proves this. How many of you guys remember 2020? Right? So I worked at Youth for Christ, been at Youth for Christ since 2018, with a hiatus in 2020. During 2020, I got laid off at Youth for Christ because funding dipped. I was the last leader coming in, and I'm smart enough to know that I'll be the first leader going out. And so I was. And so I got called into the office by the then executive director and a board member, and true story. I get the call, can I meet at 8 o'clock? I say yes. I prayed to my wife. With my wife, I said, so I think I'm going to get let go today. She said, what do you mean? I said, I can feel something. So I called my sister, who's a devout Christian. She lives in Nashville. I pray with her all the way down to the office. I get down to the office at 2 minutes to 8 o'clock. I walk in the door at 8 o'clock. I go and I sit down in the meeting, and they tell me that they have to let me go because of funding. And I said, okay. So here's what I think you should do, right? Because I was so the one leader. I was so not understanding anything less than being a child of God. Like, I prayed, I was ready, I was prepared, and so what else? Well, am I going to go in there and say, oh, no, don't do that? No, it's like, so this is going to happen, so now I have to have the right mindset. And so what happened is I said that, and I said, so here's what I think. Here's what I think you should put in this position moving forward, blah, 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 blah. I'm out the door at 8:08. I'm back in my car at 8:08. But before I left out the door, the board member said, Frank, I've never seen anyone do that. Like, it's like I've never ran into a person who gets terminated. By the way, this is the only job I've been terminated from. Terminated the way that you handled that. I've never seen a person handle that. And I said, here it is, because I prayed down here, I'm prepared for it, and so what's next that God has for me? I'm a big believer in the next that God has for you. All that to say, my wife and I lost everything. We lost our home. We lost everything. So my sister who lived in Nashville, packed up all of our stuff and drove 26-foot U-Haul, pulling the vehicle, down to Nashville, Tennessee, in the middle of COVID. Wow. Yeah. I don't recommend that. Okay? If it ever comes back, don't do that. Because it just wasn't good. It wasn't good. So we did not have a great time. Right? We were down there for 9 months, and Youth for Christ, because of God, and I stayed connected, saying, hey, I'm praying for you guys. I just want you to know that I'm praying for you. I know there's a whole bunch of stuff happening. I'm just praying for you guys. I want you to know that. Called me back in 2021. Here's the beauty. It was April 20th, 2020 when I left. It was April 20th, 2021 when I came back. Same day. I walked into the office the same day I walked out 1 year later. The HR person was like, wait a minute, what? And I said, yeah, look at the dates. That's of God. God brings back to, because, again, being available, right? Availability is giving our hearts, not just to our hands, not just our hands to a task, giving our hearts. So my heart was always for the heart of this city. My heart is for this city. My heart is for the people of this city. I come back. I go to talk to another point that Pastor Mark, thank you, Rick was saying. My pastor's name is Mark. Sorry. So it's not that far. But Pastor Rick was saying, I met with pastors. And I said, hey, how can we, because I saw unity on the marquees and unity in here, and I'm like, I don't see unity. So I said, how can we create unity? The real thing. Here's what I found. Exactly what you were talking about was about they were separate. Here was the bigger kicker for me, though, is that no one wanted to take the back seat. Everyone wanted to lead. And I was saying, how can that be? You cannot have unity with everyone in the front seat. And so therefore, that's why we don't have it. Because everybody wants to be in front. Everybody wants it to be their way. They want it to be their church, and they want their church to grow. I want unity in the community, but I want it to go through me. I'm sorry, I got to go backwards. Jesus made it clear to his disciples that they must have the motivation of being givers rather than takers. He said in Matthew 16:24, he said to his disciples, if any man will come after me, let him deny himself. Pill up your cross and follow me. And again, as Pastor Rick said, Jesus then explained the paradox. If someone tries to keep his life for his own goals, he will lose it. For whosoever will save his life shall lose it, and whosoever will lose his life for my sake shall find it. The taker focuses on getting things. Yet Jesus asks, what is a man profited from all of those things? Nothing. Once we start to believe that we own things, now, I'm going to use this language. Don't get it twisted, okay? Because you own your house, you own your car, you own all these things, but you really don't own anything because all of this belongs to God. If Jesus comes back tomorrow, all of your stuff, you say, oh, but doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, right? It's all gone. So my question, and this is the participation part, what is your motivation? What motivates you? Not rhetorical. I'm asking the question. What motivates you? Anyone can answer. Or not. Love? Okay, I can go for that. Anyone else? What motivates you? Change. What does that look like? Yes. Nice. Yes. Anyone else? What motivates you? Say again? Serving the Lord. Amen to that. Amen. I was talking to someone And I said, just here, just this morning, and I said, I woke up. And when I wake up, I got to go. When my eyes open, it's automatically, I'm going to do something. Serving the Lord, serving God, automatically. Here's a little exercise that I used to also teach men and women in the New Life program at the Rescue Mission, and I told them about an exercise that I do, and it's to clear my mind and it's of distractions, and it motivates me for my day. So when upon opening my eyes, doesn't matter what time it is, it could be 2 o'clock in the morning, doesn't matter. I say a prayer, but I say it in my brain. Like I don't speak, I say it in my brain. And what that does is it makes me focus on what I'm thinking about. And I say it in prayer, the Lord's Prayer, all the way through in my head. Then I say to myself, well, I can still remember that. That's what I say. I can still remember that. And I don't speak it. Now, I pray later, but I'm saying I don't speak it. It's all in my head. Because I said what I need to do is be able to focus. And I need to seek ye first. Upon opening my eyes, I'm seeking you first. Seeking him first. At 2:30 in the morning, 2:45 in the morning, 3:10 in the morning, 4:35 in the morning. That's when I'm praying to him first. Because all the other stuff, it's going to be covered. I just have to go through it. I'll tell people this, I break everything down into 8-hour increments. I can do that for 8 hours. I can do that for 24 hours. I can do that for, 30 days. I can do that. Oops, see, there's that step again. I don't know where it came from. Sorry. We are motivated to be available if we recognize how our task accomplishes part of a greater objective. Again, part of what Pastor Rick was talking about. The greater cause, the greater objective. If we can see how the little parts that we do connect to the big picture, and we are motivated by that. And not only are we motivated by that, but now we motivate others to see it that way. It doesn't seem so overwhelming because people say, I can't do all that. Well, you only need to do that. This connects to that. This connects to this. We're a part of the body. The body I don't need, my right hand and left hand don't need to do the same things. It's an impossibility for them to do the same things because it's backwards. Availability is based on, here's the kicker. This is the part that I love. Availability is based on the joy of making someone else successful. It ain't about me. It's about others. If I can make someone else successful by being a little part in their lives, that's a win. I'm not going home saying, I did 1, 2, 3, 5 people. Yay! I'm not doing that. I said that because you can do that. You can get caught up in that, right? You think it's all about you through other people. Well, I win. No. You do that because that's what you're called to do. Now, on here, this is a whole different thing, it says, live into your calling. That's what I'm called to do. And I'm living into that calling one piece at a time, one person at a time, because we all need each other to be a part of this body that we can grow into. Pause. Pastor Rick, thank you. I just want to say that. Pastor Rick saw me teaching a shorter version of this. We at Youth for Christ, we have what we call is MLC, Ministry Leadership Conference. I taught a shorter version of this, and he is a part of that because he volunteers for one of our groups, and asked me if I would give a longer version of this at the Leadership Summit. So I appreciate him, and I wanted you to know that because I forgot to say it at the beginning. But I love you, man, and I appreciate you for saying for seeing and asking me. Because here's the thing: and he can probably attest to this. When he said, "Would you do this?" I said, "Yes." I don't even know when it is. I didn't even know when it was. This was in November. I didn't even know when it was. But the thing that I have in my head is to be available when someone asks you, because it's not about me. I can make the room, make the time. So in all of that, I said, oh my gosh, it is on a day I coach youth football. So I had a game scheduled today, and I was like, what am I going to do about that? It was at 9 o'clock today. What am I going to do about that? I've already committed to the kids. So it's simple. What came first? This came first, and so I just, emailed the parents first, and then emailed the Metro Parks and told them the story. Hey, I've committed to this. What can we do? They offered to let a parent coach the team that I coach, and I said no. Not going to happen. Or, since we have an extra game, because it's a six-game season, I have 7 games. And so I said, well, God created that 7th game so that I could have a bye for this day so that I can be available to fulfill my obligations to Pastor Rick. Wow. I'm not seeing it. I don't think you understand how God works like that. He orchestrates all of this back in November and said, on March 16th, you're going to have a problem. And so I love this part because, again, availability is based on the joy. I get joy out both things. I get joy out of this. Why? Not because I'm responsible for your success, but because in this leadership summit, we are, as leaders, responsible to make you successful in your thought processes, right? Sorry, I keep getting ahead of myself. True happiness is not receiving things, but in giving that which will truly benefit the lives of others. As Paul said about Timothy. Paul said, "For I have no man like-minded who will naturally care for your state. For all seek their own, not the things which are Jesus Christ, but you know the proof of him, that as a son with the Father, he has served me in delivering the Gospels." Paraphrasing a little bit. I'm sorry, Philippians 2:20 through 22. Thank you for asking. In Romans 8:34, we see Jesus is the ultimate example of availability. He lived among people who had needs and served them from early morning until night. He laid down his life that we may have life. He makes continual intercessions for us. And, oh my gosh, so grateful. Did you know that a giraffe makes itself, so a giraffe stays in the herd? I didn't know this for years. A giraffe stays in the herd. A giraffe protects the herd from predators. They group together. But they also, if one giraffe is out feeding or whatever, another giraffe stays back and babysits. Huh? In the animal kingdom, things happen like that because we have to be together. Our unity means more, and it's safer that way. When we talk about creating this push to create unity within our communities, then it takes all of that. It means that I need to be able to protect you. You need to be able to protect me. And not only that, I need to protect the people who you serve, and you need to protect the people who I serve. There may be a time when I say, hey, Pastor Nick, speak. Maybe a time, John, speak. Because you might say, Frank, speak. Because that way we need to be able to put a hedge of protection around everyone. Animals do it all the time. But we get humanized in our thought process, and we think, nah, I got other stuff to do. All right. Still got about 15 minutes. And I got about 17 minutes worth of stuff. Okay. So, did I put this on my? This is the problem with having notes and a PowerPoint. Nope, we're not there yet. We are motivated to be available if we recognize how our task accomplishes the bigger part of the objective. We already said that. So here's the story. 3 bricklayers were asked what they were doing. The first answered, I am making a living. The second said, I am building a wall. The third said with a smile, I am building a great cathedral. It's mindset. It's the mindset, right? A part of the bigger picture. If you see it as a job, like I'm making a living. I am going to work every day to make a living. I'm not a part of anything. You don't see yourself as a part of anything. The other one, I am building a wall. When this wall's finished, what do I do? And the other is, I'm building a cathedral because that's the goal. The goal is to build something bigger than myself that will sustain life, that will give life. So Matthew 5:16, let your light shine before men, that they may see your good works and glorify your Father which is in heaven. So now we say, finally, so how do we develop availability? 1, by not seeking our own pleasures. Because those are the first things that come in. Am I going to be inconvenienced by that? Wait, is it between 2 and 4? I don't think I can do it. You know what I mean? The first thing that comes in when somebody asks you to do something is your mind says, wait a minute, how can I not do that? How can I not do that? Because, man, at that time, let's say between 7 and, 9 o'clock at night, man, I got a show I like to watch. Netflix. I got a show I got to watch. Now, I'm going to tell you this, man. My wife, we've been married for 30-some years, like I said. Let me say it this way. We've been together for 30-something years, okay? But my wife, we've been married for 24 years. But my wife, she's in the medical field. She works 3 12s, and she comes home, and I get home before her, but she comes home, and then I cannot say a word to my wife for at least an hour and 10 minutes. And here's why. And I mean, I can't, because she watches General Hospital. Man, I'm telling you. And I have things, because I'm waiting, because I get home before her. I'm waiting for her to come home. So I can blitz her with some things, and I know that I have to wait. And I'm trying now. I'm telling you right now. Man, I go into the room, and I'm saying, I'm watching. I know all about General Hospital. I shouldn't know about General Hospital, but I'm watching it now. Now I'm getting into the characters, and I find a break. Hey. She says, hey, what do you want? I'm saying, you do know that you can pause it. She hasn't quite grabbed it. Latched onto that pause. You can come back to it, right? Everything is like, I got to watch this thing all the way through without being disturbed. Sorry. I told you, I got my stories, man. Number 2, by not seeking great achievements for ourselves, it does not matter if I get the badge. It does not matter the things that I think that hey, man, somebody did that. I wonder who did that. And I said, oh, it was me. I did that. I don't need to do that. Why? Because, again, we are serving one leader. He knows. He made that happen. He said to you, this is what you're going to do, but I don't want you to say a word about it. And here's what happens, though. People look to give you props, if you will. Oh, man, oh, man. And you can get absorbed in that. And then what happens there? What comes in? Thank you. Pride. When pride comes in, it's all over. Number 3, by not developing efficiency in meeting personal needs. By not developing efficiency in meeting personal needs. This is how we develop availability. Yeah, of course. See, I was like, I wonder if I can get by this because my time is going to run short, but if somebody asks, I got to say it. Okay? So by not developing efficiency in meeting personal needs, like, here's something that you will, like at 9:30 at night, I'm going to bed. Because my mind moves, brain moves, and so I know that I need to get at least whatever sleep I get, and I get up at 4 o'clock in the morning every day. But if I went to bed at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, I'm getting up at 4 anyway. So it shortens, right? So now I have to myself, not develop the efficiency in meeting my personal needs. That means that I cannot, it's not like it's all etched in stone. It just means that this is my normal. Now, are there days? Yeah, obviously. There's days I go to bed at 8 o'clock. There's days I go to bed at 10 o'clock, right? But it's like I've set that there, but I'm not very efficient at that. Because what I want to be led is by God. And when God tells me, he gives me the sleep I need. And people say, Frank, you need to get more sleep. And I said, and when God tells me that, he will sleep me. He will. And I'm just saying that's the truth, because you can go and you're tired. We're all tired. Who's not tired? You know, we're all tired. And then one day, when you're overly tired, God puts you to sleep. You know what I mean? So knowing that, it's like I don't need to do any of that stuff. I just need to be available. I don't need to develop any of that stuff because God already has that in his hands. And so when he tells me to do this, it's going to happen anyway. As a kid, you know, you fight sleep. I'm not doing that. But I have done it. I found myself fighting sleep. And number 4, by discovering the priority. First of all, did that? Okay. Number 4, by discovering the priorities of those we serve. So here's the thing. Now, again, coming from a community of homelessness, and I've said this to many people when I was at the rescue mission, City of Tacoma, Pierce County. I said this because I embedded myself as an employee of the rescue mission into homeless camps. And here's the first thing that I thought. I wonder what you guys need. Because here's what we do. We think they need clothing. We think they need coats, socks, shoes, hats. We think gloves. So we buy all this stuff, and we take it to them, and we say, ooh, I did that. Ah, man, nobody's going to be warm. Now, being in a homeless camp, the first thing they leave is all of that stuff you brought them. So, what's that telling you? That's not what they need. So I said, I wonder what you guys need. Tell me what you need. He said, Frank, we don't need this. People keep bringing us all the same stuff. And now how are we going to carry it? I'm coming through 16 one day, and I'm seeing them pulling people coming, I don't know if you go from 16 from Center to Union. People were up in the bushes along the wall, and they're pulling clothing, shopping carts, camp stuff all the way down. All these clothes that people gave whoever was up there all winter long. Our hearts say, man, if I was out there, I'm going to be cold, and that's what I would need. Facts are, you're not the one out there. You would need something different. So I asked the gentleman. He said, Frank, here's what we need. I need a job. I need a place that I can call home, that I can put an address down. This is what I need. I don't need all that stuff. So, by discovering the priorities of those we serve, how do we do that? We ask them what they need. And then we hear them, and we listen. We ask, what do you need? How can I help you? Just like I was saying about the guy who was asking me for $1. Well, yeah, I hear that, and I can give you $1, but I don't have any cash. But what do you really need? You need some food, right? Because I know you're hungry. You don't need food to carry. Where are you going to carry it to? You just need to go and get some food so you can eat it. Okay? So that's how we can develop availability. How available are you for service? Do you choose to serve God rather than money? And I'll fly through these. Do you propose or purpose to be a giver rather than a taker? Do you work to make others successful? Do you keep your personal responsibilities to a minimum? Do you deny yourself distracting pleasures? Do you set aside personal ambitions in order to advance the kingdom of God and his righteousness? Like, it doesn't matter. Here's the thing. You either know where you're going after life or you don't. If you believe you're going to heaven, then everything you do is going to lead to that. Doesn't matter what happens, it's going to lead to that. So then that's going to advance the kingdom. All you're doing is advancing the kingdom. As you're talking to people, you're advancing the kingdom. That's what my daily life is about, advancing the kingdom. That's all I do. Why is that all I do? Because that's what I'm built for. Living into my calling. Now, actions, right? Actions. This isn't on your handout. So here I'm challenging. I will put others ahead of myself. I will find a way to help, not a way to hide. So in other words, when somebody's calling you, we're not running to, oh, don't tell them I'm not here. I'm not here. Oh, man, I can't do that. I can't do that today. That's the hide part. Somebody says and calls you, like when Pastor Rick asked me, and again, I'm saying that as if I'm something. I'm nothing. But what I am is available. And when Pastor Rick said again, hey, would you do this? Yeah, sure. I don't even know when it is. You don't have to know. Why? Because God knows. God orchestrates all of that. I didn't know I was going to have a game. I didn't know any of that stuff, but I knew that I had said yes. And then be true to your word. Be ready. That's number 3. Be ready when I'm called. I will be ready when I'm called. I will be glad for the chance to serve. I will be glad. How many times do you know, or how many people do you know, that when it's time to serve, hey, I need somebody to serve. Oh, man. All right, what do you want me to do? And then they're not happy. In their soul, in their spirit, they're not happy, and so they just do it, and they're when is this? When is it over? I don't want that person. And I don't want that person around me. In fact, I say this to people who are around me. If we're going out doing something, man, what time are we going to be done? I don't know. If you can't go all in, I got it. Don't worry about it. So check with the right person before I make commitments. Now, I am married, so I do have to check with the right person, who happens to be my wife, right? To make sure that she doesn't have something planned or something scheduled that we need to be together on, right? So again, she was going to come because again, she was at the same training that I was asked. And I told her, hey, in March we're going to do this thing, and she okay, yeah, I'll go. Registered. Okay, yeah, let's go. And then today, I'm not going. Right? But again, it didn't change my love for my wife. Okay? And so, that's the end of that. So I'm going to say this, and I'll be done. Right on time. I'll be done, and I'll say this. God is doing an amazing thing. God is doing a wonderful thing in our communities. And it's up to us. Here's the thing. It's not up to anyone else. It's not. And if we keep waiting for someone else, it's never going to get done, right? It's up to us. It's up to us to lead the way at any cost, follow the one leader, and to do the best that we can to be available to the call. Make sense? All right. Thank you, guys. I appreciate you.